Oh my gosh. Oof. Thanks for seeing me on such short notice. Uh, this week was kind of walloped me. Kind of walloped me good.
Oh, tell me about what's going on. Has it been the weather?
Well, I mean, it's certainly been the weather. The weather's been, it's been weird outside for sure. It's, and I guess I could talk to you about like the sort of myriad uh personal problems that I'm kind of just going through all the time. Things that are just burning down in my personal life. But the thing that I really wanted to come in and talk to you about today, uh, well, okay. So you've definitely you know about Texas Chainsaw Massacre for sure, right?
Oh yeah, the classic Toby Hooper film from 1974.
Yeah. From the 70s, whatever. It's a gruesome, horrible, and some kind of funny, but like mostly just fucked up film with like a very long franchise, a long tail of sequels and remakes and requels and all this sort of stuff.
Yes. No, there's uh Leatherface was probably one of the last ones that came out, I believe, from
Mm-hmm.
uh from Lionsgate, part of their earlier failed attempts to reboot a bunch of franchises.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're doing their best out there. Now, yeah, they basically, with the Texas Chainsaw series, it's kind of, I mean, like, they're constantly making new ones. I don't know what the situation is. They seem to have like a lot in Bulgaria that they shoot all of the Texas Chainsaw movies on since the start, basically. Which is fun. We love that for them. They came out with a new one of these. I don't know if you heard about it.
Oh yeah, I know. I saw it on Netflix. There's that trailer moment where it's like, look out, Leatherface. We're gonna cancel ya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're fucking canceled, bro. You're gonna
bro, you're trending on Twitter, and they're beating your ass in the quote
Dude,
tweets.
they're beating you in the quote tweets. Dude, DNI if you have a chainsaw.
Cannibal apologists, do not follow. Read my card.
Please read my Leatherface. You haven't read my card, clearly. Basically, this new one, it looks like the production was a whole nightmare. They had to like, drop the original filmmakers due to creative differences, and then they kind of seemingly rush the production on it. Blah 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 blah. So
There's a lot of
everybody,
stuff about it. There's a lot of stuff about it having really bad polling.
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah. Just basically, the whole world's working against this film. Everybody knows it's not going to be good, right? We all
Right.
understand that.
It's a Netflix original. When was the last time Netflix original signified quality and not quantity?
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Uh, and so that being the case,
Let me take a big sip of my coffee here.
mm-mm, why were there parts of this movie that I loved? Like, okay. I mean, well, okay. Let me get a good kind of litmus test for where I'm at here. How safe I feel, kind of sharing my feelings here. Uh,
Yeah, of course.
what did you watch New Texas Chainsaw? What did you think of New Texas Chainsaw?
The new for 22 one.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad. I kind of wish it was worse. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
get really excited when I see a lot of news articles about a film having a very bad production cycle because usually that produces kind of an interesting train wreck.
Right.
And this one I thought was just disappointingly, just kind of a bad film, but not really much to look at for how bad
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. My feeling
I
in that
liked the,
regard.
I will say I liked the doo doo pipe. I like when Leatherface cuts the doo doo pipe, and it
Mm,
covers the character who looks like Dory Seif in doo doo
yeah, and Poopy. Yeah,
and
the
Poopy.
the Aaliyah Shawkatness of her. I think that like I think there's a non-zero search party influence in this movie, honestly. And I don't just say that because of the styling of the main character. I think that there's like the sort of like plot beat that they basically kicked this woman out of her home on absolutely no basis, that she owned the title to her home. That's very, very funny. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe more or less, it's hard to say how funny they intended this movie to be. I think they intended this movie to be pretty funny, pretty goofy, pretty fun. Uh, which I think in fits and starts it kind of like is like, I mean, the most important thing for me to kind of get out of the way as a disclaimer is that, like, yeah, it's a bad movie. Like, no, it's not good. Like,
It did not surpass your lowered expectations enough for you to go, you know what? Actually, it's good.
right, yeah. Like, let's establishing the stakes of the argument here. Like, okay, no, like, it's not like a good film. That being said, like, I personally didn't have any qualms with the cinematography. I thought the pacing was okay. I thought there were some like really cool set pieces. But okay, yeah. The important another part of the important disclaimer is that, like, those, good parts, bad parts. The bad parts of it is pretty much the entire intent and like the spirit and like everything that they came up with when they were in the writing phase is bad.
The evil nature of the film at
The
the heart of itself.
Yeah, there is a very dark evil at the heart of this film, and the dark evil is, what if black people gentrified white people? Wouldn't that be crazy? Which is like, okay, there's like, or I don't know, like that's basically this. It's kind of trafficking in this sort of like really hyper online discussion of gentrification that is very, very, very disconnected from reality.
Yeah, I know. The engines of gentrification are not actually a tech startup advertisements like the people in a the stock people in a tech startup advertisement coming into a town and being like, we're gonna turn this town into a froyo shop
Yeah.
and take selfies. It's real estate development. It's councilmen conspiring with the local political power forces in order to basically turn public housing into another commodity or another stock that can be flipped. It's landlordism.
Yeah.
It's not some guy with a really stupid idea to turn a ghost town into a retreat. They don't really seem to convey what the plan is very well in the film.
I don't think they know what the plan is very well. I mean, it's not very commonly that you see, like, I don't know, we could kind of spin a yarn about how people who kind of live out in the country of America are like white, white ruralites are kind of insulated a little bit from the forces of gentrification by a lot of factors. But yeah, kind of more importantly, like the film.
I think the film also on that note kind of misses the fact that like them being insulated from gentrification isn't like because the threat of gentrification is there. It's because like their town will be bled to death
Yeah.
and then will not be gentrified.
Yeah.
And then it will simply be allowed to rot off the face of the earth.
Kind of in the vein of every bad movie, like half in, half out on whether it even wants to be serious about like this stuff, which also it's half in and half out on whether it wants to talk about like school shootings and gun rights and things like that. Like it doesn't really seem to have a very firm point on that. It just seems to want to like nudge it, talk about it, show scenes of this character, like her traumatic, flashbacks to a school shooting, which gotta say pretty normalized at this point, right? That it felt
right.
for it to be such a small part of the plot, like that feels significant to me as someone who graduated in 2010.
Yeah, no, same. I felt like it was interesting that it's like, well, here's a film, that's kind of finally acknowledging the fact that like it would make sense for your character to have a character that is a survivor of a mass shooting and it not be, like this not make the film about mass shootings because it's just so common now that there just are gonna be people who survived mass shooting. It's so common now that there was a person who died in a mass shooting who had survived another mass shooting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's heinously common for how untouched and undiscussed it is in film. But this film kind of wants to both have that and also like not really talk about it.
Right, yeah, exactly. And it's just that's classic bad movie stuff. Is like, oh, it's a hot topic, let's put it in. Which I guess kind of brings me to the yarn that I want to spin in regards to like the things that I find good about this movie, which is at the very end of this movie, they engage auto drive. Spoiler, they engage auto drive in their like brand new car. It's basically a car commercial. It's pretty. It was at that point that I was like, I had turned against the movie by this point, and I was like, oh, okay. Somehow I forgot about the original like Texas Chainsaw ending, where she's like in the back of the car, blah 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 blah. Leatherface doing his spinny little dance maneuver, blah blah blah. And so I was like, oh, they're just gonna get out of it in their brand new fancy car. No, the car auto drives away, and while it's auto driving, the girl in the driver's seat, the main character, watches her sister get decapitated, fully decapitated,
pulled from the car, and then like Leatherface does his like up B attack.
Yeah, literally,
it's just like decapitates her.
Yeah, like amazing. I literally like scream laughed when I saw that.
It is. I did also scream. There was a lot of moments in this film where I just started, where I would just scream laugh with my friends.
Yeah, I like that. Like the thing where like the girl trying to like escape from the massacre that's happening in the bus. That's like clearly kind of low-key a Snowpiercer reference, and like she gets out, but at what cost? Stuff like that, where it's like, if it's not really doing a good job at being a movie, it's at least doing a good job of being this sort of confluence of like, pulling in these like droney Beyond the Black Rainbow Mandy style like new horror directing style conceits, and kind of mixing them in with, like a formula that already exists. Do I wish the focus was different? Absolutely. Do I think there was some craft here as well? Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of complicated that way.
No, I mean that makes sense. There are, and it's. I'd be curious to know if some of the moments that you did like came from the previous directors or from David Blue Garcia, who is the current, who was the director that ended up finishing the film. I'm looking at his filmography and I don't see anything that jumps out.
I don't think they used any of the footage that the original director shot. So I think it's all David Blue Garcia. He directed Red vs. Blue vs. Rooster Teeth, a TV series short episode of Red vs. Blue in 2016.
Oh, that explains why you like this. No.
Bitch, what the fuck?
Oh, you know what? Bloodfest was released on Rooster Teeth's video on demand service. Which, by the way, Rooster Teeth has a video on demand service.
That's so...
Wait, no. He didn't even direct that. Why is this movie connected to it? Did he just have something to do with it?
Oh, I think he was the cinematographer.
Oh, that would make sense.
He was a cinematographer in a lot of movies, which I think explains why I thought this movie looks so good. Because, like, there's a huge focus on the cinematography.
I will say a lot more visually stylish than a film this otherwise bad has a right to be.
Yeah.
I liked the sunflower field scenes.
Yes.
like on a visual design level, like those were really cool.
I'm gonna be like, honestly, I thought that the scene of the girl like stuck in the van with like and she like has to look in like the side mirror at Leatherface while he's like carving up somebody's face, and then the guy next to her is like still alive and she has to play dead. Like that, I thought that scene was so fucking cool. Like, you know,
That scene feels like that feels like a scene that like the sort of film like kind of is hanging its hook on.
yeah,
You know, like that would be like if it had been done somewhat differently, that would be like maybe like the opening of the film or something that kind of introduces what's going on. Yeah, and so I can definitely see that the film sort of like maybe like that was a starting point and the rest of the movies kind of grew out from there, because the further you get away from that scene, a lot happens the further you get away from that scene.
yeah, a lot happens that doesn't feel very, I don't know, doesn't feel very slashery. It feels kind of goofy.
I keep hearing people talk about the tour bus scene, and I don't understand it because a I feel like cramming a bunch of your kills into one scene like that doesn't really work pacing,
Hmm.
like for like the pace of everything. And B, while it stylishly looks fine, it becomes very apparent very quickly that like all of the extras in the background are just kind of standing against the bus and going like just kind of like hitting the side of it like when they're not in focus.
Yeah.
And so it becomes extremely apparent really quickly that most, if not the vast majority of them could have escaped from the bus by just running behind him when he was killing someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have too many qualms with that scene. It was like it was a little messy. Uh,
Yeah, it was just a very sloppily executed scene, and I think a lot of people were kind of like, "Oh, look at all these cool kills," but it was like, I mean, I've these are kind of like standard kills for like a newer horror film
yeah, I
in
would agree
terms of
with that.
style. And so there wasn't anything like particularly interesting there, but the interesting element of it was that they were on a bus and you can see multiple parts where there are people like behind him but closer to the exit than he is, who are still just like standing motionlessly against a wall, like hitting it like they're trying to escape and get away from him instead of going in the direction that would make sense to get away from him. That sounds super nitpicky, but it's just like you kind of have to see the scene playing out to kind of notice that the way it's constructed is very messy and like doesn't really make sense, other than like, oh, we need to amp up the kills in this film. Let's just have him slaughter a bunch of people in a bus and like whatever, it'll look fine.
Yeah, let's get our kills out in this one scene. Let's see if we can just kind of make it, make it middle heavy or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call that.
it's a real bottom heavy film. It's a real pear shaped slasher film.
The whole thing went real pear shaped, I tell ya. Yeah. Like that's kind of the frustration is like for every genius idea, and it really did ping pong like scene by scene almost, where it was like there would be like a fantastic, smart, awesome idea or kill or like something set up that's cool. And then it would kind of switch to something that's like really kind of rote and uninspiring character work or really just something that's like pretty much just racist.
Yeah.
You know.
No, the extended Confederate flag scene was really embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, real bad. Like what are you saying, man? What are you trying to say? What are you talking about?
Cuz like you don't the scene itself, just like the conflict of like obviously, you know, these primarily non-white characters from a city are going to see a Confederate flag on an old building and be like, ugh, that's bad. We should remove that before the investors get here. And obviously that might be like a point of conflict with the people who live in the house that they're taking it off of that they don't know live there. But then they just like have her explain why it's okay. And that's when it gets a little like you're getting to like a conversation that you definitely do not have the depth to handle in a film like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they make it so abundantly clear that they don't have the handle for it. Like,
It felt like that they were like worried, oh, the fact that she has a Confederate flag makes her too unsympathetic, so we need to give her an explanation so that the audience knows that she doesn't have it for racist reasons. But that like just kind of underlines the fact that she's definitely like thought about it.
I only have it there because it reminds me of my granddaddy. I wonder
Yeah.
what it reminded him of.
Yeah, I
I
wonder why
guess
he
we'll
had it.
never know.
Like they're like if that was their concern, I feel like there's so many you could have had her just be like, oh, like we don't get a lot of people around these parts, so I've never thought about it.
Right.
Like
Oh yeah.
I've never thought how that would like how that might look because people don't come here.
Yeah. Or just
Uh
have it be bad have it be bad that there's a Confederate flag and have it
yeah,
not be
or just have it be like, hey, this woman could be racist and they could still be responsible for her death by kicking her out of her house.
like yeah, it could almost be that everybody is bad.
Yeah, you don't have to make these characters like you don't have to be like we can't have her have like a flaw that would make sense for this character to have.
Yeah, see, like that is just so it's just so talking down to the audience, just so not a real thing, not a real conversation. This is gonna get them talking on social media about our movie. Like, fuck you. You're doing the same thing that the characters are doing. You're fucking showing up to these conversations with your little bus and all of your investors
Yeah,
and setting up in a dead, dusty town
and a dead dusty franchise.
and kicking up all sorts of dirt.
There was like this really annoying conversation I saw about it where people were talking about like, well, the original film, is about the energy crisis. And so it's interesting that this film talks about gentrification and stuff. And I'm like, the original film is not, and I'm putting this in quotes, about the energy crisis.
Yeah, no.
Like, it is drawing on it. It is using it as like an underlining, but there aren't characters going around saying, damn, you hear about that energy crisis? That shit sucks, bro.
Dude, I love being from the city and having energy and not having a and the crisis. Oh, the
Man.
crisis.
Let's sit around and discuss whether or not Reagan whether or not Reagan has what it takes to be tough enough on Iran to solve this energy crisis. No, it uses the anxieties of the moment and it uses that to tell a scarier story by making it relevant that you can then translate into modern issues and modern anxieties as well. This film will not age in that way because the way we talk about gentrification and mass shootings probably will be different in 20 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Texas Chainsaw is about something much bigger than like. I mean, it's kind of drawing on the imagery of like Ed Gein and shit like that from long before.
They're a cannibal family.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, notice they cut that out of this one.
Weird.
Notice he's not a cannibal this time around.
Well, Leatherface has been through so much, and I mean, like, this is it's hard to. I mean, like, it's hard to tell how this plays.
He's lost his hunger for it.
Yeah, he's lost his passion. He's not, he doesn't put the makeup on the same way in the morning anymore. He just stops and looks in the mirror.
It's just ever since that like vegan cannibal place opened up across the street. It just feels like the cannibal fusions.
Yeah,
the restaurant.
There goes the neighborhood, I guess. Yeah, it's I mean, Leatherface goes through a lot. Aren't they like an Illuminati like plant or something? The family in one of the movies.
I think so. They've been through a lot. I need to watch the whole series. I know that this one ignores the canon of some of them because from what friend of the pod Lonnie was telling me, in the more recent reboot, sequels, whatever, the main character like like is like a distant relative of him and like tames him, like has him as like a thing she can deploy.
Hmm.
Something like that is what Lonnie was telling me. So it seems like the series kind of goes all over the place, and I guess making him an icon for ghost town anti-gentrification
Yeah,
is like, I guess, a direction one can take the character in.
I guess. When you come to gentrify the rural areas, you never know what you might find. Careful kicking over those boulders. All
Yeah,
sorts
yeah,
of.
careful what orphanage that you don't have the deed to you walk into. But on that note, did you also find it kind of weird how I think it was Melody is the main character girl's name. She was like really hung up on the deed in a specific way where it felt like she was trying to say that like, okay, but if we have the deed, then I don't feel bad.
It's fine that she's dead as long as we have the deed.
As long if you know, because if we don't have the deed, then she was right, and then it was wrong of us to kill her.
Which we
It was
did
wrong of us to
do.
kill her, which we did do. It was fine of us to immediately escalate this to police involvement in a way that caused her to suffer a medical crisis and die, as long as we were correct. as long as I won the argument.
Yeah. As long as the power we wielded is recognized in some sort of court of law, then the
As long
actual
as legally it was our right.
the moral and ethical. That's don't worry about that part. Listen, that all gets figured out in the courts of the U.S. of A. Yeah, I mean, like that stuff's funny. That stuff's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it. This movie has potential. That's my final word on it. I would say it had potential that they didn't really fully capitalize on, but they capitalized on some of it. Enough of it for me to have laughed a couple times, I guess.
Um, it was really funny when he like throws that hammer at her and it just fucking no clips her through the ground.
That was great. That was fucking awesome. See?
But we are talking around one thing though.
Hmm.
The return of Sally from the first film. Not played by Sally, not played by the original actress because she passed away.
Right.
Which, all things considered, if you're trying to do the Halloween thing, maybe don't do it if you can't get the original actress because it doesn't really work.
Yeah, it kind of just doesn't make sense, really. I mean,
She kind of just like shows up as like a MacGuffin at the end.
she passed away in 2014, which is like not recent even. I don't know. This is just such a weird thing to do. Like, it's such a weird decision to make. I like, why her? Why does she need to come back? Why do her scenes, sideline the other characters so majorly, so hard? Like she just doesn't play well with the other aspects of the plot. It's really bizarre.
You know, she's her presence in the film is baffling.
Yeah. I mean, she's hot.
Also, she has like yeah, that's fair. She has that whole thing where she's like, "No, he's after you, so I'm gonna use you as bait," and it's just like goes after him anyway. Like he's not coming for the other characters, and then the second she comes back, she's just like, "All right, you guys can go now."
Yeah, I just have a huge part. I have a huge problem with that whole part. Like, oh, if you don't kill him now, he's gonna haunt your dreams for the next 50 years. I've been thinking about him for like, not sorry to paraphrase our Letterboxd review, but like, girl, move on.
Yeah,
Move on. You don't need that energy. He's not gonna text you. He's not thinking about you. And I love that the movie even has a scene that's like,
he just doesn't remember. He's like, "I don't know who you are."
yeah, literally. I'm just, ma'am, I am merely a killing machine.
Ma'am, I've been through 8 sequels. You're gonna have to narrow it down a little bit. Stretch, is that you?
It has been half of a century, madam. I'm sorry. I can't really,
Ma'am, I put my chainsaw on the wall and retired from those killing days.
I was talking with my roommate I was watching with, like, Oh, don't go in Mama's room. Like, what did she mean by that? What did she mean? Like, don't cross dress? Don't put on makeup? Don't get cunted out?
Yeah.
But no, there was that great scene with the chainsaw on the wall.
Or he just punches a hole in the wall and there's a chainsaw in it.
When your mom
Uh,
dies and you punch a hole in drywall.
that meme of like white boys like when they lose a game of Fortnite or whatever and there's like a hole in the wall, but it's just like it's just Leatherface when his mom dies.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking exactly.
What did you think of the soundtrack, by the way?
The Colin Stetson soundtrack by Colin Stetson.
Yes, yeah, I was about to say like I'd forgotten that Colin Stetson did it because I did like the music in this film.
Oh yeah, no, it was good as fuck. I have absolutely nothing to say about it. It was perfect. It was like a good droney, scary soundtrack.
I think he had said something in like an interview about it wanting to sound like old machinery waking up again after like a long time.
Oh,
He's so good. He's so good at music at film soundtracks.
he's great.
I hope, pray that if anything comes from this film, it's the weirdo horror fans just latching on to the very gender school shooting survivor character.
Yeah, I hope she retains a fan base that kind of extends past, you know, past what the movie's potential is.
May a million AUs bloom.
Yeah. Yeah, Elsie Fisher. She's like the 8th grade girl.
She's really good in 8th grade too.
She's great in 8th grade. She's a great
She's
actress.
fucking incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I even liked her in this. She was well cast. And had this. It's very funny. Like, not to go back to the sort of cynicism of the school shooting thing, but it's like, it's funny to have a character who's not only a survivor of a school shooting, but like living in the shadow of David Hogg, like not like being a schlub about it. You know what I mean?
That I'd completely forgotten that part of her motivation is that she's like, everyone expects me to do great things now, and I'm like, I don't think that's an expectation most people put on school shooters and survivors.
But like, is it though?
I think you're just comparing. Like, is the implication that in universe you went to the David Hogg school? You were a survivor of the David Hogg school shooting, like that. Like oh, some of the other survivors are doing activism and you're not, and so you have like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, did you even survive the school shooting?
Like, in real life, if you survive an event like that, like, people don't expect great things. They expect you to roll over and die like a traumatized animal. That's what people like expect. Like, that's what makes the David Hogg thing so crazy. But like, I do have to wonder if there's like a gifted kid industry of just like, oh, how come my school shooting survivor child doesn't have a book deal? You know what I mean?
I mean, we're at a point now where they even they even the kids who didn't survive are getting fucking shit. There was like that weird thing where I think it was one of the Parkland kids, like they like used the same technology they used to like put old actors in new movies to like make a video with him talking about like gun stuff. It's like it's evil. It's like an evil like video because it is like digitally recreating an actual murdered child.
Yeah.
To sell gun control, which intent sure, execution don't do that.
Don't.
That is so terrible. That is opening up. That is a Pandora's box that does not need to be opened.
Literally something that is so fucking bad for your brain. Like, not.
Literally something that sounds like it would have been like a Mike Judge joke.
Yeah.
like 10 years ago.
A search party joke, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, yeah, like a search party joke would be like Elliot being like, we're using the new technology to bring back the people we lost to this tragedy so they can make sure things like this don't happen again.
I mean, do I even have to say it? But like on cinema, at the cinema as well, the way that they like predicted the Kardashian thing, Like
Odd, yeah.
unfucking believable. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to like. It's hard to talk about a movie that's like purposefully cynical in intent or whatever in a very cynical world. Um, but you know, I did it anyway. I came here,
Well, yeah,
to the
you got.
office.
I think you got a lot. I think you're showing a lot of signs that you're finding value even in films that are not good.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, sometimes I tend to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and if you know, even if there's something I liked about a film, I'll trash it. But this one's more complicated. Like it's evil. It's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. It should be flushed down the toilet. But you know, we're talking about art here.
Yeah, no, and it's sort of like when you see a town and you're like, God, just like a brick oven pizza place would really liven up this downtown area.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, oh, this
We're gonna
movie.
gentrify the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. I think that's what our plan moving forward is now for
Yeah.
therapy.
I honestly, that's very sound. That makes sense to me. I think it's a smart plan, and I'm all for it. Uh, whose money are we gonna use to do that?
Oh, what's Bad Robot doing?
Yeah, let's hit them up. Let's email them.
Yeah, let's shoot him a little text message.
JJ, got this new problem. I got this new project. You're not gonna believe it.
JJ, add me to those J's because I got something. I got something to sell you.
Fucking damn it!
You're gonna need a third J by the time we're done with this movie.